Hi, everyone. I'm here today with Calebria Webb. She is a Detroit-based mezzo-soprano and vocal coach, a K-8 educator, and the Director of Education and Outreach at Opera Next Gen. And she's here today as our Empowered Musician of the Month. Hi, Calebria.
Hi, I'm super excited too.
And I just wanted to turn it over to you. You're doing so much in your career right now. You have an upcoming performance of the Magic Flute, and working in schools. You have a summer course on 19th and 20th century Black women opera singers at the Chautauqua Institute in New York. And just curious, you have so much on your plate. What is feeling exciting and inspiring to you right now?
Oh my goodness. So to start, I think you really listed them in order probably of occurrence. So to start, I am in Apromoto's spring production of hashtag Superflute is what it's called. So it is a production of the Magic Flute. However, all of the characters have been reinterpreted as characters of 80s video game characters. So I can't say like names of them because hello, hashtag copyright. But um there are some very unique spins, musical spins, um that have taken place of the characters while still keeping the story really authentic and fresh and just amusing because we've been doing, how many times has anybody seen the Magic Flute? This is the production that goes to every school's outreach program. Of course, it's abridged. It's done in so many different young artist programs or scenes programs because of the type of characters and vocal demands that it asks for. So how many times have we seen the Magic Flute? But to see it done in this way is really, really fun. And I'm really enjoying the rehearsal process because it really allows me to kind of like wig out a little bit and come out of the normal third lady statuesque mantra, if you will. So I'm super excited about that. That mounts at actually the end of this month is February 18th and 19th. So we're in rehearsals now. And really, it's been great just being back on the stage and being back and rehearsing for something so like big because I didn't do that for so long here. So I feel really grateful to be doing this. And it came right on time and kind of just fell in my lap. So yeah, I'm like super stoked about that whole production. And I think Apromoto's doing a great job with reimagining and also still keeping all of us safe with all of the COVID related implications, that we have. So hats off to them. And I'm just super excited about that. And ooh, we're going down the line here. The course at Chautauqua. So I have a friend, a really, really close friend of mine, who's also a musician. And one day, we were sitting having, some champagne because I love champagne, let's be honest. And we were talking about furthering education. So I have a master's degree, but we started talking about, doctoral programs. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. Oh, I don't know if I want to go back to school. It doesn't sound, it doesn't sound like me. It takes a lot to push me into something. And, I think one of his key points in conversing with me a lot is always talking about, well, you should go back to get your doctorate or you should entertain it because. And he always has this laundry list of reasons. And he's like, by the way, a really good thing for you to do is to just start building your platform and your what have you done since you graduated with your master's list, basically. So we can call it a CV, but really it's what have you done since you got your master's list?
Mhm.
And, he got in my face and said, you're going to apply for this. You're smart. You can whip up a course proposal in about 5 minutes. I'll help you if you need me. The deadline is this day and you're going to do it. And nobody ever tells me I'm going to do anything, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And that just lit fire under me. And so I created a course proposal based on some preliminary research that I have and also things that I've just learned over the culmination of my career and created a course proposal for a survey of 19th and 20th century Black women opera singers. Submitted it and boom, just like that, just like magic, it was accepted. So I'm super excited to go and teach this course this summer at Chautauqua. Um, it's really personal to me because it's literally my ancestors talking about them, and it's coming from what I do now. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, and this is literally the culmination of that. So I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to nerd out in front of people who allow me to nerd out about it, because that's just a rabbit hole I can keep going down and down and down in. But I'm just really excited to talk about something that's a little more underrepresented in our field. And there's no better time than the present. So, we're here. So this summer, I believe in August, I don't have exact dates yet, but that's when we'll be ready for takeoff.
Awesome. That sounds like such a great course that I wish I was closer to New York to go to. But I'm really glad your friend pushed you into it, because it sounds like something that really needed, and glad it's going to happen. So it sounds like you are both like your performer educator hats, like are maybe like you're passionate about both, and you're teaching kids too. So how do you balance that? Like how do you balance those two energies, and or what's connected to those two roles?
So, first of all, I don't do anything without my planner. I specifically use the Happy Planner. So, when people ask how I am managing things like that, I'm writing them down. I realized about 10 years ago that, my memory just wasn't cutting it anymore for the volume of things that I had on my plate. So, I literally schedule it. I put it in there. I actually have a very creative side, as far as my hands are concerned. So I'm actually into doing the washi tape and the stickers, and planning everything out in a planner, and I write them in these very pretty pen colors, and I make lists and check everything off. So when people ask about balance, that's balance.
Mhm.
That's balance, because if I don't write it down, it's not going to happen. Sometimes I write it down and it still doesn't happen, but at least there's an accountability, and I know that can go to the next week. But I say all that to say that was the connecting bridge for me, from a physical manifestation point of connecting the two sides. So I've always been two things. I've always been a singer, and I've always been a teacher. And for a very long time, I was told that those worlds don't collide. They cannot,
Mm.
and that drummed into my head hardcore. And
Pick
so
one.
when, yeah, you got to pick one. They always tell you pick one. And I'm like, wow, and I know why they said that, and the intentions, they were well intentioned, but it's stressful. It's stressful
Mhm.
because when one side starts to take over the other, and especially in terms of economy. So my teacher side picked up a little more during the pandemic, but it had to.
Mhm.
It had to. It was a nature of survival at that point. And when that side starts going up, then also the guilt of not performing or not singing as much or not being that performer starts to go too. And finally, I just kind of reasoned within myself. I said, that's enough. Stop beating yourself up about it, because it doesn't make sense. In this economy, in this world that we're living in now, you have to do multiple things. Most people are not just going to wake up, scream a few notes and, get $1 million checks. And if you are, I'm not hating, I love it. But the reality for most people, especially singers, you're going to teach somebody something at some point. So it wasn't until I kind of married those two things together and created space, physical space in a planner, um, that those worlds started to play nicely together. Okay. So I write down, I have rehearsals on this day, or I'm practicing this particular whatever at this time. But then I'm writing down, okay, teaching at whatever time, the next day, or, some days I flip flop a little bit. But creating that space really was such a big deal for me. And it also helped heal a lot of the self-imposed and societal guilt around doing both. You know,
Mhm.
um, I found that teaching music helps me be a better musician, and it keeps me sharp. In the education world, anybody that has gone to school for education, they know what Bloom's taxonomy is, and it's just an order of learning. And one of the highest levels of learning is synthesis. And I found that when I am teaching or singing, performing, I am operating as synthesis. So
Mhm.
there's a constant need to create. There's a constant need to even analyze, which is a little bit under synthesis. It's a constant evaluation, which is, still higher order there. But I am at the highest level of thinking when I am doing either. And I am optimized because I do both. So they can play nicely together. You have to create space for that. Um, you just have to create the space. Like I wish I could say more about that, but you have to create the space, and it has to be you that creates the space. Nobody can create that space for you. That's something that you have to get real with about yourself, and you have to do it for you. So
Yeah, that's such a hard line to walk to, and like not taking on too much and or
mhm.
feeling pressured to do more. Um, yeah, I'm hearing a lot of like really like your entrepreneurial skills of like staying organized and managing your career in teaching and performing. And I'm just curious if you had to give like a short piece of advice for other empowered musicians, other people who are trying to come up in this industry. Like what's something that you've learned that would maybe you wish you knew sooner or that you would be a takeaway from your work?
Say no when you want to say no.
Hmm.
When you don't want to do it, say no, because you have to say no in order to make room for the things that you want to say yes to. And you may not see those things coming that you want to say yes to, but you want to be able to make space for it. But with that being said, don't be afraid to try other things that are of interest, because then how else do you know if you like something or not, or that you have a skill set for something or not. You have to make space, but say no when it's time to say no, and gratefully say yes when it's time to say yes. And you'll
That is
know
like
that.
sorry, that's like such concise wisdom that like really
You'll
appreciate.
know. You'll know you have an innate compass that
Yeah.
guides you. We can call it intuition. We can, if you're anything into the divine, you could call it, the spirit, whatever. But we all have that. We all have that feeling that says, yes, this is what I should be doing. Or no, this sounds like something I don't want to even get involved in. And that compass leads you to or away from things. And we don't do a good job, especially musicians. There's a lot of guilt. I should be doing this. I should be doing more. I'm not doing enough. I should be practicing this. There's a lot of that. But you have to answer to you and the inner you, that's going to be loud every time. So if we honor that, we're honoring ourselves, and we're putting it out that we want to receive more of what we want, instead
Hmm.
of, you have to repel what you don't want. So um doesn't mean that I get that right all the time. It doesn't mean that I always do it. I'm human, but it has taught me to, it's taught me that in order for me to make the space for the things that I really, really want to do, then I have to have boundaries.
Hmm.
And that's a bigger lesson. So, boundaries around pay or boundaries around time. Time is even bigger for me, because I think there's a lot of I can find money anywhere. I can't always find time. And I'll
Hmm.
never get time back, but I'll make money back, but I can't always get time back. So, you have to learn how to operate within your personal boundaries while keeping an open mind.
Hmm.
We're musicians, we can do anything, so it's fine. Like
Very flexible. Yeah.
that's how we're taught, right? We can do anything.
Do you have like a go-to tool for discerning when you're getting like an inner no versus an inner should? Because that's something that I struggle
Yeah.
with a lot is like I like think that I want to do something, but it's really a should, but like that get that like so how have you gotten just practice like discerning that quickly or
Yes, but I think the best tool in anybody's toolkit, musician or not, is relying on your personal friend circle, family circle, and or networks. And I have a host of people that I feel like I can call and I can trust and get objective feedback about
Mhm.
something, or I can just talk through something with them. And
Yeah.
they'll always be like, well, I can't give you the answer. And I'm like, give me the answer, tell me whether I should or not, and I appreciate them for that. But they're just like, okay, well, yeah. if I were you, I would, or, if I were you, I wouldn't, and sometimes I still do the opposite of what they might
Right.
recommend. But at least at that point, I feel supported in a decision.
Hmm.
So I'm sounding off. I'm asking for advice. I'm asking, hey, have you ever had any experience with this, or what do you think about this? And I'm getting feedback that says, well, yes or no. But I know this about you, and I know, blah da 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 makes you tick. And then I'm like, oh crap, So I'm getting an outer reading, and I think that personally, I believe that we were all created to be in community in the first place. And so why not utilize your community? Because that's what they're there for. We're
Hmm.
there to support each other. So I think that the best toolkit that you have is just a slew of supportive people, around you. And you're not going to ask the same person, every time for the same advice or for different advice. You have some friends you talk to about, concept A, but you may have another group where you talk to about concept B. And
Hmm.
that's okay, and I think we all kind of need that little rotation there. But the best tool that we have is community. So if are on the bridge, on the fence about something, I should say, within yourself, then, look to your community. And I think a lot of us, as we continue to age, our community begins to shift. And those who are not good for our community or who no longer fit in our community, whether it be, a good reason or not, you know, um, those people remove themselves. And the people that are supposed to be there will be there. So why not trust that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I love about this is it's like blending together sort of your personal being and like using who you are and the people that you care about, your community, like you're saying, like as part of your professional identity, not like a separate thing. Like you're bringing yourself into your career and you're bringing the people with you that mean something to you, and that's going to
Hmm.
make like a really solid, authentic career. So, and you're a wonderful example of that with so much exciting stuff going on that it sounds like you're really like rooted in. So,
I'm
um,
hanging in there somehow. I'm rooted in something.
do you want to tell us a little bit about Opera Next Gen and your role as the director of education and outreach?
Yes. So Opera Next Gen is a nonprofit that seeks to elevate, the voices of marginalized singers, marginalized artists, and takes those voices and amplifies them through opera.
Hmm.
Opera Next Gen is a completely virtual operation. So we have virtual operas, we have virtual webinars where we invite guests into the webinar. And based on whatever topic, of expertise this guest is going to be the topic of that webinar. And so I have been tasked with leading the education and outreach initiatives, which has been a great source of insight even for myself. So we've had, power panels with people who have experience in correlating careers, as actually Dr. Varga likes to call it, which is something that I'm a huge fan of. That's a concept I'm a huge fan of because it's so true. And we also have had webinars about, ableism in opera, and it
Hmm.
just, it goes on. But we could also talk about Baroque repertoire,
Right.
in a webinar. So there's a range of topics, I think, that are relevant to singers and for singers, and in many cases are facilitated by singers. And I think that that is so powerful. Um, I really enjoy that aspect, and getting to know the people in contact, because otherwise I may or may not have met them on my own. They're
Hmm.
all at different stages in their career, or they're sometimes career adjacent, where they probably trained as a singer, but maybe now they're a manager or
Hmm.
something like that. So they're very adjacent, and it has been really just awesome to network and know, like, oh wow, this is what's happening in this corner of the world. And you know now I'm made aware because of this conversation, or because of this webinar, or because of this contact. Like, I think that Opera Next Gen is doing a great job of connecting singers to resources, and also doing it in a very 21st century forward way. So if
Hmm.
nothing else, we've seen that the last several years, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Every time it leaves my mouth, I'm like, oh my goodness. But I think we've all seen witness of how the internet has just encompassed our lives in one way or the other. Media and social media and video conferencing was a way of life pre 2020, but now it is the absolute way of life. Now, and there are so many opportunities that can exist within that. We still value human connection and we still value in person, but when that doesn't necessarily play well for us, we have this tool that we can use. And so I think Opera Next Gen does a really good job of utilizing that and then taking capital and inventory while still providing opportunity for singers to get their fix basically. So yeah, it's been a good ride. This is my first year with them in that role. And so far, so good. I enjoy the fact that it is a fully remote thing
Hmm.
and it is therefore convenient, because it is so remote, but it still has a level of accessibility, through different platforms we chat. And then, there are meetings that are held, obviously, but, I don't have to zoom through traffic to do anything. And when I want to go see an opera, I'm like, cool, I'm logging on, and that's that.
Right. Well, we'll be able to share the links to that in the newsletter with the interview. So we've got a wide a network of people as well. So it's great that it's online so that we can participate too. Cool. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we sign off?
Oh my goodness, I think that's it. I have a hard time being decisive about that being it, but I think that's a really, really good space to definitely leave off on. This
Yeah,
is great.
something for us to connect into, no matter where we
Yeah.
are. Yeah, and if you're in the Detroit area, you said the February 17th and 18th, the Super Flu,
18th and 19th.
18th and
18th and
19th,
19th.
are those shows webcast as well?
These are not, they're actually in person. It's awesome because they're taking place at an arcade in the
Oh my
downtown
gosh.
area.
Well, if you're in the
Okay.
Detroit area, you have to go. Sounds
Detroit
amazing.
is like king, well, really queen or whatever, of innovative spaces.
So cool.
So that's just one example of an innovative space. And I'm like, oh, this is great. So after the show is over, I'm just going to kick back and play some video games. And everybody can also come and watch me lose them because I absolutely suck. But the singing will be good.
You can redeem yourself with the singing.
That's it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being with us today, Calebria. And everybody, you can see Calebria's info attached to this interview. And so glad to chat today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.